Investing wisely is what we're talking about today, the East Central Business Show. I'm John Naylor and I'm joined by our resident expert financial planner, Helen Baker. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
Now, are we doing advice today?
We are not, we're just doing general discussions, so yep, seek specific advice for you.
Okay, sounds like you're covered in that sort of disclaimer, but anyway, now, investing wisely. Now, are we going to start with property and move on to other investments, or?
I think we should talk about a couple, but we can talk about some examples of when things have gone wrong so people don't make the same mistakes.
Well, we've talked in the previous episodes of the series about the volatility of income in the mining industry and how, you know, in fact, people work in the industry, it becomes like a bit of a drug for them. They can't get away from it.
Right.
Now, if you geared around property wrong, it really can get ugly, yeah?
Yeah, and I've seen some occasions, particularly where people have bought a property, so they've bought this property. It was a period of time when you could put the stamp duty what they call capitalise the stamp duty, so you borrow that on top.
Yes, yes.
And then
stick it all the loan.
Costs, yeah, and then it's all tax deductible interest and so on and so on. So the problem has been that when things have turned in the industry in those particular towns, and then the value of that home is less, and what's worse as well is that the rent keeps on decreasing. And we've seen some where people's homes have been, and we didn't give the advice to buy there, by the way, just saying, is that, you know, it's like half the price of what they paid for it. So they've got a mortgage that's double what the value of the home is, which means their current home, if they try and sell this, they may not have enough equity in their own home. And they're all intertwined from a bank perspective. So, you know, you can't actually sell, you have to weather the storm. Or B, you do sell and you have to pretty much sell the whole lot.
Oh yeah, touching a nerve there, Helen. Do you want me to cry? That's it. No, it's all good now. We've worked our way through it. But anyway, look, there is those past mistakes that you've seen, and you know I've seen and experienced to a certain extent. That, and certainly seems like the more regional the centre, or more related to mining, the way that the property values can shift somewhat in those mining towns, depending on what's on that year. Yeah,
and the reality is property does go up and down just like any other investment, just like careers, just like relationships. So getting in on this basis that it's always going to go up or that it will stay at that height is not necessarily the case. So people have got volatility in the industry in terms of their income, and then they also have volatility in where they're investing this money. So locking into, so we see people often who've got the properties lined up, but they don't have any other investments. And you can't sell off a bedroom when you need $10,000 of cash. Like you have to sell the whole house. So there's a whole lot of ramifications. So it's about getting the plan that's sustainable, considering these volatilities, not only in their income down the track, but also about what might happen with those investments and trying to build something that's got longevity in it and sustainability. Because once you're forced to sell, it's like trying to sell a car or a fridge or anything. You won't get what it's worth. Yeah,
so. That's right. Yeah, fire sales are a devastating thing for the bank balance and the valuations and stuff. And the thing is, I guess one thing I've noticed, having lived in regional Australia and North Queensland type thing, is that you tend to focus, certainly in myself almost as much as, you know, people I saw work in the mining industry sort of thought, oh, I'll buy something in Mackay, you know, as opposed to buying something in Brisbane or Sydney. Yeah. Your focus on where you buy properties doesn't sort of expand beyond a 2-hour drive radius, you know, which seems to be a bit of a flaw,
Yeah, and as well, even buying a property for themselves to live in. So some people are buying them for investment purposes, other people are buying them for them to live in personally. But then what happens if there isn't that job there and then you get moved to another place? Then what are you going to do with this property? So you've got to buy one somewhere else, and who are you going to rent this to? So there's a lot of issues to manage around that kind of a lifestyle that is in and out and is susceptible to all those. And we were saying in the first episode about if there are couples in the same industry, like that doesn't give you a lot of buffer if both of the couples its jobs are affected by that. So whilst you can go to the bank and they've tightened it up, thank goodness, but you know, you get told that you can borrow millions of dollars. If people go and do that, you know, that it has to be paid back, and what do you do in these times? So, but conversely, there are people, we have clients all the time who are getting ahead, they're doing great things, they're making use of this money, they're making wise decisions with their investments. So it's really about seeking it from the advice from somebody who doesn't really have anything to sell you. That's hard these days.
Yeah, well, around that, there's always that negative gearing too as well. I mean, is that almost like a false economy or a mindset to be avoided, you know, because you set yourself up for failure around that, don't you? Big income, let's buy some negative geared property, that's, you know, as an investment, going to reduce my tax, I'm going to come out a winner. That can really backfire.
Yeah, and I think that's it. So negative gearing as a concept is the opportunity to offset those expenses against your income. So it does give you a tax deduction, which is nice. But it also means that you're actually cashing out more money than you're bringing in relation to that investment. So it's sometimes it may be not the right thing to do. But we have this thing that's the only way to invest. There are other ways to invest money. Yeah,
oh, absolutely. And of course, the minute you lose a job, negative cash flow or negative gearing becomes negative cash flow, becomes a killer.
Yeah, and particularly if you're single as well. So if you're a single person, you were earning this really good income, you know, what is the backup plan to protect that investment if you lose your job or something changes dramatically in your situation? Because that's it, you have to service the debt, or else you're forced to sell. Yeah,
I'm sure you'd probably around investment strategy would love to talk about the fact that the spreading investments, looking at alternatives to just simply property. So what do we need to know about in that space?
Yeah, and I think that's a part of it, is getting the investments from somebody that doesn't have something to sell you. If they are selling, and I was sharing with you previously about, you know, just going for a facial, coming out from that, and then just this big sell of product. It was like, there wasn't, do I actually need the product? Why do I need the product? It just felt like a big sell. So I think that there's so much push to sell things these days, and it might not be in the person's best interest to actually have that at all. So I think that you've got to get advice from people who are not linked to something to sell.
Okay, cool. And around the assets, you know, and liquid is the word we've put up there on the whiteboard. What are the sorts of liquid assets? What's a couple of things in that space that people can alternatively look at beyond just simply property?
Yeah, so obviously things that other people invest in are shares. So from my perspective, my investment philosophy, I tend not to focus on individual shares just because I'm a big believer in diversification to manage the risk. So the terminology for something bigger, so a small piece of a big pie rather than a big piece of a small pie, is what's called managed funds, which is primarily what people's superannuation is invested in. So that kind of big package. So those kind of things are liquid. So if you need to just sell off $5,000 worth of something or $10,000, you can, as opposed to selling the whole lot.
Okay, all right. Well, there's some quality knowledge around that sort of thing, and probably what you're saying is like you know, getting independent financial advice is a good idea, more so than your local V8 or exclusive motorcycle dealer. Yeah.
Yeah, they're nice to have too. If you can have both, great. But yeah.
Well, you know, a bike can be a great investment. Oh, I'm not sure.
Some might be, actually.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to tell you which ones, but yeah.
All right, but there's certain things that people should talk to you about around financial advice, and you'd love to have that conversation. How do they get hold of you, Helen?
So if you just jump on our website, onyourown2feet.com.au, and for men and women.
Okay, fabulous. All right, Helen Baker, our resident expert financial planner on the East Central Business Show. We'll speak to you next time. So, just a general chat with Helen Baker, our resident expert financial planner on the East Central Business Show. Helen, now, where's this passion come from about financial planning? We've just shot your first series. You've talked about you like it.
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
I didn't know to start with. So my background was originally more as a fixer. So I used to go into businesses and fix things and make things happen. So I think the combination of the finance background, the project management, the fixer, and dealing with people, 1, 2, 3, and here I am. Okay,
fabulous. Now we're going to put a disclaimer up around us at the moment, so it's probably down here somewhere-ish. But you know, it's really important that people understand that whatever we do in these episodes is not specific advice. Yeah.
No. So specific advice must be tailored to their personal circumstances. So we'll just be talking generally about bits and things, and if that interests them and sparks them, they can seek specific advice from there.
Okay, so now how do people get their Helen Baker though? So there's a book and there's a website to make contact, yeah?
Yeah, so there's the website, there is the book that you can buy. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll find me wandering around Brisbane.
Okay.
Leave me alone if I'm at the groceries. No. So yeah, just onyourown2feet.com.au.